Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be showing you how I modeled a Met from the Megaman Classic series, a very iconic character in the Megaman series, spanning from Mega Man X all the way to I think ZX even has their own version of a Met. I'm just using the SH Figure Arts or the D Arts Met as a reference photo. Just took a bunch of photos of him, and right now I'm just trying to make sure that all of the images match up in size, just measuring it out to see how tall I want it to be, and just making sure that the images are in their own collection. So I have photos of the Met without the helmet, with the helmet, and the helmet by itself, and that allows me to model the Met a bit more accurately. I don't have to guess what's underneath his head, I can actually just see it. And modeling the helmet by itself makes it a lot easier as well, especially since the Met wears the helmet at an angle. I modeled a bunch of Mega Man enemies in the past, smaller, lesser known enemies, but I haven't modeled the Met mainly because he's a very iconic character, and just kind of afraid of not making him accurate and messing it up. And also it's a very small figure, so it's requires a lot more work and detail when it comes to certain areas, but I feel like anyone can model this if they really wanted to. If probably can learn to model in under a week using just YouTube tutorials. I'll put a bunch of links in the description if you want to learn to model. I feel like if you have any artistic background in drawing or anything at all, I feel like you can teach yourself how to model pretty easily, and you can probably catch up to me in 2 weeks or so. I'm not that advanced, even though I spend a lot of time modeling different characters from the Mega Man series. I'm not that skilled myself personally, but yeah, with these basic tools you can very easily model majority of characters in the Mega Man universe. I really struggled with the eyes on this version that I've made. I've made this Met about 6 times in the span of 2 days, just because my Blender kept crashing and my OBS recording software kept crashing. Yeah, I just don't have a very powerful laptop, and it just can't handle the 2 programs running at once. Also, at the same time, I was listening to a podcast, and just having a Google Chrome tab open while Blender's going, and then OBS at the same time. It's just way too much for my laptop to handle. So the 6th version is what I actually ended up going with. It's very similar to this one, just the eyes are a bit different. Yeah, it's literally the only legitimate change from the other versions. Some versions I just had to scrap because I didn't like the way it looked, or just Blender and OBS crashing over and over again. And just at the bottom corner there, you can see all the keystrokes that I'm hitting. And some versions I didn't turn it on when I was recording, just because Blender crashed immediately, and then you have to hit the start button for recording your keystrokes. Kind of annoying. I think you can have it switched on so that way it's always having your keystrokes at the bottom, but I haven't seen the setting for that yet. Here I'm modeling the helmet. What's really nice about the Met is that he has so many different variations, and I'm excited to model different versions of him soon. There's a version with him where he's riding a little train. I really like that guy. I hope to model him next. Maybe I'll do a little preview at the end, who knows. There's also the giant Met with the jetpacks, a giant Met, and it has 2 giant exhausts at the bottom as is his body. And I've modeled him before. I'll throw an image on here. But basically, he has a bunch of different variations. He's a very iconic character, and I'm excited to use this version of the Met as a base for future versions. I mean, the helmet is also, there's Mets that don't even show their feet. They're just the helmet and the head. So I'm going to model that one next as well. I also post previews of what I'm modeling, and there's a bunch of things that I model that I don't make into videos, mainly because there's such a small background character, and from one game. I recently modeled Soshi Breaker from Mega Man 5. I think he was in Pluto's stage. I'm not quite sure. but I modeled him the other day. It only took like 3 hours, and I'm pretty sure if you were to start learning Blender now, you can also model him in the same session that you started learning. But yeah, there's only a few plugins that you have to download for wanting to 3D print stuff. One is the, I think, 3D Print Ready or 3D Print Toolkit add-on in Blender. It basically makes sure that what you're modeling, and when you export it, that it's ready to go for printing, that it's watertight, that there won't be any issues when it comes to transferring it to your printer. And here I am making the foot again, because the first foot that I made I didn't really like. This version is a lot better. When it comes to making holes for items, so that way you can plug, so that way you have multiple items printed in different colors, and you can have holes for that way when you plug them in, they fit well. Basically what I do is that I make a copy of what I'm going to cut a hole into. So I'll copy this leg peg and I'll hide the original, and with the copy I'll just make it a little bit bigger, and then I'll cut a hole into the model using the bigger copy, and that will make it so that way it's easy. Because it's bigger, I won't have to sand it as much, because the printer isn't going to be 100% accurate. It might be a little bit smaller than the actual hole, and the peg is going to be smaller than the original. The peg is going to be the original, so it's smaller. So it'll basically match up with the hole pretty well. Some minimal sanding may be necessary. The other problem is making sure that the hole is deep enough. There's a lot of times where I will make a copy and it'll be bigger width-wise but not length-wise. So that's another thing that I always have to watch out for, that I'm making the hole deep enough for whatever I'm putting in. Also, another thing is making sure that if there's enough material to work with. Like if the walls are too thin and the item is too thin, then the printer won't be able to print it. It'll be like missing material there, just because it's way too thin for a printer to recreate it. There's like a limit to what can physically exist or physically can be created by the printer. I really struggled with the mouth because I didn't want to make it too deep, and I didn't want to make it too small either. And there's a lot of difficulties. Basically at the end here, you'll see Blender crashing over and over again while I'm modeling, while I'm trying to apply these Boolean modifiers. And I think it's crashing pretty soon, but feel free to comment down below what kind of characters you would like me to say. Comment down below what characters you want me to make. Not too complicated, please. I'm not going to be able to model probably like Proto Man's pretty complex. There's Blender crashing. Like his helmet is very complex. Dr. Light's pretty complex. More like smaller characters. There's Blender crashing again. Smaller Megaman characters that don't get a lot of love, mainly from the Classic series. If you want to check out my Instagram, I've modeled about 50, I believe, different characters from the Megaman series. My Instagram is actionfigure_it_out. There I show off all the things that I've made in Blender, and I usually post Instagram stories of updates of things that I'm working on. And also on my Twitter, I usually post the same thing as well. I believe the ad is the same, Action Figure It Out. Thank you so much for watching. I have some photos at the end of the Met, the final version of the Met that I made, along with the Sentinel Megaman. That's probably my favorite figure that I own. Maybe the Battle Network Megaman might be better. Thank you so much for watching. Please enjoy these photos.